Are you ready, Nick?
I'm ready.
You ready? Cool. Uh, Dude, I feel like I should have interviewed you sooner just because since I personally decided like, hey, I'm going to do this, like I'm going to step out on my own and get out. I'd almost been talking to you. I did actually talk to you right when I was trying to conceptualize, like, is this what I want to do? So thanks for making time, man. Just finished end of month. How was the end of month for you guys and the
Very
team?
good. Yeah, great.
Everyone survived?
It was a good month. Best month that we've had in a long time. So it was great. It was a good
Okay.
month. Yeah.
I do keep hearing that. I feel like there are some people who aren't capitalizing on it because a lot of the times people say, it's not supposed to be as good right now. But I feel like if you have a good process, right? Like, and you've been like staying on top of that process, then you're reaping rewards from that. Cause I mean, there's
Yes.
some people who aren't, but a lot of the good people with a good process are. So,
Yeah. I would say it was our best month since the COVID days. So
ooh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things happening in the world right now. So I guess people, did you have a lot of people lock at the bottom, like just before things went crazy?
We did. Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of people that missed the boat as well, which sucked. But we did,
Yes.
like you said, we did have our systems in place, and we were able to lock the
They
majority at
should
the
have
bottom.
listened, right?
So
Because that's part of it is you tell them, hey, well, like if you have your application in, right? Like when we see something, we give you that alert to lock. Hey, market's going to go. And those people didn't listen and they didn't get
hmm
to that place of being ready, right? Seeing
hmm
is believing, right? As
that's
we're going to
right.
talk about in a second. So,
That's right.
Nick, I always love to ask most people, this is not what they thought of doing, right? With their life. Like growing up, was this the goal or like, was there something else that you like just either studied or something you did for fun? Last person I interviewed said motocross professionally. Like,
Yeah.
but was there anything, did you want to do something else as a career?
No, honestly, I've always wanted to be in business. Mortgage definitely wasn't the vehicle that I had in mind for that kind of business. That just kind of came in by happenstance, I think. But yeah, no, I've always wanted to be in business. I came from a more of a blue collar family. My dad worked for the Anaheim Fire Department for 30 years, and growing up in high school and stuff, I lifeguarded down here at Huntington Beach and did all the EMT stuff and was kind of on the track to become a firefighter and do the whole
Okay,
thing.
yeah.
And I got to go kind of do some like ride along things and stuff like that, and running med calls all night long. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. This isn't for me.
By the time that you get to that place, like you said, you did the EMT stuff, like, so your head was maybe there, like maybe this is something I want to do. How long did you do the ride-alongs before you were all like, nah?
I mean, I was still a teenager. I started lifeguarding when I was 16, and then when I was probably like 18, 19 was when I started really kind of, I guess, investigating that. And then it didn't take me very long to realize like this isn't what I
This
want
is
to do.
fun. This
Yeah,
isn't fun
because
for me.
you
Some
get
people
like
love it.
yeah, and you get like some family pressure and like there's like opportunities like oh like you're meeting with the chief and all that kind of stuff, and it feels good that like you're kind of wanted, I guess, and have a path. So I looked into it, but at the end of the day, like I would say even before, I don't know, 13 or 14, I just was always very entrepreneurial. Maybe even like since 12, I started like mowing lawns when I was 12 years old. Didn't need money, but started mowing lawns and just wanted to had like 3 accounts around the neighborhood where I was just mowing lawns for $20 a week and stuff like that. So,
Dude, nice. I didn't
yeah.
do that growing up, and that's kind of a miss. So because I was going to ask that, what were the side hustles? Were there other side hustles or no?
Oh, there was endless side hustles, endless side hustles. Yeah. I mean, so the mowing lawns was definitely my most profitable early side hustle that I got into. And then, going through high school, it was, you get into your rebellious phases, but my rebellious phases were still in like the side hustle range. Like I wasn't drinking and partying. My friends, we like to lovely call them, scams or different like hustles that we would run, but it was mostly just to see how much we can get away with, like it was our testing boundaries phase. And it seemed to be like we're testing boundaries in a bunch of just goofy things we would do. Like I remember like one time, like when we were like 17, we sent out a bunch of fake graduation announcements to just random people to see if we could get some housewife who didn't know us just to write us a check or something like that. Like,
Oh my
oh, I don't
gosh.
know who this is. Like maybe I'll just
Did it
write them a check.
work?
So it did work. We got $50. We got $50 from a random stranger. And
Okay. Well, that's that. I mean, yeah, it is a scam because it's not it's not real. So
No, it's not. I've just that was my
you said
rebellious
rebellious.
phase of learning and testing boundaries, and of course, like you come in and be like, well, that's not real cool. So yeah, we come back from that, but
I mean, I think that's a great. I didn't say this at the beginning. Most of the time, I do. Right? Is like the purpose of this podcast is there's only two ways to get experience in life. Is we're either going to have to go through it ourselves, which isn't so bad all the time because trial by fire, right? Like harden us, experience one of the best teachers. You can now have a frame of reference, and you'll never forget it. Or we're lucky enough to learn from somebody else's experience, and so that's kind of the point of this entire series that I'm doing. So I think you learned by doing, and you didn't get caught, or did you get caught?
I did not get caught. No,
You never
I did not. I did not.
All right.
But
So,
yeah, no,
so you
we did that. We the first like kind of like business that I tried to formalize was me and my friend. We would install car audio systems, and I call it a business because we ended up getting a wholesale deal from like a local shop where they cut us a break on getting like speakers and things like that. So, it wasn't like we're just kind of, I guess, paying full price. So I felt, and like, doing like a, helping a buddy out or something like that. I felt like we were actually getting a deal on the equipment and then be able to kind of charge like market price for it in addition to like our time and labor that we put into it. And so yeah, we were just installing audio systems for kids in high school, and that was like our first
okay. That's
business
fun.
I guess. So
To I guess jump ahead slightly. So whose fault is it that you got into mortgage? Or where did you hear about it? Like what's this bridge? And how old are you?
So I was about 26, 27. I was kind of a late bloomer, I would say, in terms of trying to figure out what I wanted to really kind of pursue and invest my time in. Again, like I knew that I always wanted to be in business in some way, shape, or form, but didn't know what. Going to college, started out in college, and it was business major, things like that. And I'm just thinking like, oh, they're going to teach me how to start my own business. And it wasn't really what I expected it to be. So 2 years in, kind of got stale, bored, didn't want to do it. Took about a year and a half off and did some traveling, surfing, all the kind of goofy stuff. And then kind of figured out, all right, maybe it's time for me to kind of go back, get this thing done, and figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. Did that, but still didn't really know. Like I said, it was kind of, I felt like college was more teaching me how to work for somebody else instead of how to work for myself. So I would say it was about when I was 26 years old. I met who's now my wife, and we were dating, and I was working at a credit card processing company. So I'm setting up, processing accounts, merchant accounts for different businesses, things like that. And we'd have to look at their tax returns, see how much they process, and bank statements, all that kind of stuff. And I'm getting a little commission on it here and there, making okay money. It's first, like, call it my big boy job that I had. And my girlfriend's dad was a mortgage broker. And
Okay.
and so talking to him, just about what he does and all that kind of stuff, and learning about the business. And he starts just kind of like, yeah, no, I just, I look at their tax returns. I look at this and look at their bank statements. Do this. I'm like, oh yeah, you're kind of doing the same thing I'm doing. You're just making way more money than I am, and he was a character. He's, I'm surfing all day, doing all this kind of stuff. I'm like, well, I mean, if you can do this, like, I feel like I can do this, And so that was kind of the first door of like, oh, this is what this is. And I can do this, like I said, like he kind of gave me the confidence, like knowing like, yeah, if he can do this, I can do this. And so I started kind of just pursuing that and got started seeing what it took. Started getting my license, studying for all that.
This is kind of like a jump ahead, but I guess I want to stay in the next step of what happened. But so you've been originator for how long, and what's the most amount of production you ever did in a year, units volume?
So I would say I started originating when I was like 27. I was fully licensed, starting to get my business going. It was slow going in the beginning. It was hard. And I would say the most production that I did in a year was probably about 90 million.
Okay. How many about units is that?
I don't remember.
What's your average loan amount?
500,000-600,000, give or
Okay.
take.
People can do math. They can do that.
Yeah.
And okay, so where did you start working? And then I guess I always like to dive into this because this is really where I think people learn the most is we're really sometimes lucky or not lucky, right? Because you just said it, right? Like it was really circumstantial how you got exposed to it. And you might have gone and worked for your girlfriend's dad or somebody else, but we're limited in the beginning who our role models are, who the influences are in our life. And it is going to come down to the decisions that we start to make about, hey, do we want a different role model? Or is this a really good role model, which is a reflection of our character that we choose, right? That how do we value things? Are you going to get coached? Are you going to how are you getting better, right? So who was, I guess, your initial role model? Where did you start? And then what was one of the most valuable things you learned about how to be get and then be successful as a loan originator, and who
Yeah.
taught it to you? I'm curious to know who was that person who taught you?
Yeah. The when I first got started, I didn't want to go work for my girlfriend's dad. I wanted to kind of try to make it on my own and do my own thing, and so I met I met this guy. He was a realtor who had just recently kind of transitioned into becoming a broker, and he and a couple of his acquaintances started like a little brokerage that was based out of downtown Los Angeles. And so he was the first person that brought me on, and he paid me like a little salary to kind of help be his assistant and put together files and kind of train underneath him. So essentially, my job was I would pick him up, drive him up to LA every single day. He would just be, cranking phone calls the whole drive up there, and I just kind of listen to him, talk on the phone, things like that. And then when we got into the brokerage, I would just, try to set up files, and I would underwrite income and all that kind of stuff. This was before a lot of online applications and people uploading docs and stuff. So a lot of paper files, things like that. And deals were hard to come by, when you're new starting out, you're pretty much saying yes to everything to try to get an opportunity at whatever you can do. And I didn't get a lot of time to work with him directly, but a lot of the other kind of loan officers that were part of this brokerage, they're the ones that were kind of helping me, I don't know, kind of sift out some of the leads I was getting and the deals I was getting. And it was rough. I didn't like it.
So it
feel
was leads, right? It's getting leads from, they were either buying leads or people calling it or something.
Well, sometimes, yeah. They would have I would get the bottom of the barrel stuff, right? That I'd have to really chase down and work, or something that maybe they're credit impaired or some sort of challenged lead, and that would kind of come across my desk to see if I could revive it. But the hard part for me was that they had this saying, and I don't remember what it was, but it was something like, you're never wrong if you're never right, or something. But I don't remember what it was. But the essence of the message was dance around the truth. Don't ever tell the full truth, or something like that, because you don't want to risk being wrong. And this was how they kind of approached putting a file together to get it through underwriting. And it didn't sit right with me, and it was really hard for me to kind of process this, because a lot of these people, this is their life savings. We're getting them into a huge debt loan. I don't want to dance around something and kind of mislead them or something like that. So it was I didn't last very long. I was in there maybe 6-7 months, and I finally decided I can't do this anymore, and I met this guy, Chris, at church, and he told me, he was just asked me how it was going. He was a big producer. He ran a huge branch, and just met him by happenstance, like I said, we were in this men's Bible study, and I just talked to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, how's the loan business going?" I'm like, it's terrible, man. I don't think I'm cut out for it. It's just not my thing. He's like, what do you mean? And he's just like, I'm like, well, take a look at this email. This is kind of like how they want me to respond to this client. I just don't feel good about it. And, you can shoot me straight. Just let me know if I'm just kind of being a wuss and, or I need to go with thicker skin or hey, this isn't my thing. And he looked at it and he's just like, oh yeah, no, you're done working there. You're going to come work for me now. And so when he brought me on, it completely changed my life. I went in and worked with his branch. His branch was just full of, $80 million producers and up. They were all just crushing. Some of the best loan officers I've ever been around in this whole business, my whole career. And it was all started like that first, year, 2 years I've been in the business. And so I just got to bop around from office to office and listen to these loan officers of how they would help agents, how they would control a transaction, how they would set up a transaction, how they would talk to their assistants and their processors, and how they would go over terms with underwriters and everything like that. So that was an experience that I don't think I could have ever replicated, and it got me going, got me started.
Okay. Well, I guess I have some questions, but just one of the most important things there, because kind of frame that up, and I think a lot of people want to try and attract and recruit people, and the best people do that through be someone that someone else would want to be, right? Like, how about if you're doing well, then they want to emulate you. And I think you just basically said that's exactly what you were drawn to, and you made a choice, right? So you did choose to change mentors, right?
Yes.
It didn't sit well with you. You wanted, maybe you felt like giving up, and then you're all like, wait, there's another way. And did you know there was another way, or was he the first person who was all like, bro, like?
No, I did not. I honestly, I just thought that this was just what the business was, because I would talk to people and like, oh yeah, being a loan officer is a grind, and a realtor, it's a grind. It's hard. It's hard out there. It's a doggy dog thing, blah, 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 whatever. And I would just thought like, this was just what it was. And especially, at this time too, like I was coming out of college, like, kind of post 2008, 2009, 2010. So my whole college years, I spent a lot of time in economics and just kind of studying what was happening with like the Great Recession and all the whole mortgage meltdown, and the whole loan officer game was really painted in like kind of a bad light, and
Demonized at that point. It's like,
they
did this.
I thought it, and I thought it changed, and I thought this would be my opportunity to kind of come in and like be the guy who does it a different way, and I'm naive and don't know any different, but when I got in there, I'm like, oh no, this is the exact same. This is everything. And I can't do this. So how can I get around this? So I didn't know that there was another way. I just thought this was what it was.
Okay. Interesting. And so so how long were you with that? Oh, by the way, quick question. So that group of producers, right, in that branch, probably, people doing the business in a better way at a higher level. And now you get new experiences, right? Like you're being exposed to how they run their team, how they talk to clients, how they value add, et cetera, right? Were they referral based? Or what were they doing that was maybe either the same or different?
Yeah, they were all referral based.
So these guys are working with realtors, they're working with financial planners, et cetera. The other guys were more of a call center. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say. They kind of did a little bit of everything, but yeah, they didn't have a structure. It was just grabbing at whatever they could, buying whatever cheap leads they could get, and yeah, it was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you with this group?
The first group or the
second group? Yeah,
second group. I was with them for 4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, something sucked. What would you say? And maybe you already said it in a way, but I think before we started, like you'd mentioned, there was somebody in particular who, like, what's one of the most important things that someone taught you about how to be a successful originator, and who was that? Like, if you something that you picked up that to you, like, looking backward, that thing feels like fundamental to who you are today.
Yeah. I had a friend, Andrew, who really helped me see past trying to chase my next deal. Like in the early years when you are, going into a commission only job, like you're very focused on just getting that next deal and hoping that deal is going to sustain you until you get that following deal. So you kind of have this like scarcity mindset of trying to make the most you can on a deal. And so I was always just trying to, really make as much money as I could per deal. And he shifted my whole thinking, saying like, no, like, profitability is all about the value that you are able to bring to someone's life. It's not about how much money you're going to make. So if you can just somehow get out of your own way and just focus on how much you can do for someone, that's going to lead to value. And again, I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but I do vividly remember him telling me that I have to just kind of have faith that, like, if I provide value, the money is going to come. And the way he did it, like, it got me to kind of break that cycle of like, okay, just trust the process. And even if it doesn't work out, even if you kind of go above and beyond for this person and they end up going with somebody else, just trust the process, it's coming. And so he was really good to kind of lean on in those early years, um, and really just kind of step up, like, yeah, like I said, like my value proposition and how I'm going to help people really was like hitting the basis for my whole reputation that I started.
Mhm. Seeing is believing, and I think you already said it, because when you first started, right, like you were like around these people, listening to them. I feel like today, not everybody is as lucky, right? Like if
Hmm.
you were recruited, right, to like join a top producing team, then that's kind of like all you know, right? Like, and that is a blessing for a lot of people, because it's like, oh, this is a top producing team. You know, they follow the core model, or they follow whatever. Pick your cup of tea, Todd Duncan, and that there is value in that. There's different ways to be successful, and people have different processes, but not everybody is as lucky, I feel like, today, to get that opportunity, because again, you're a product of what you were around. And I don't know, maybe it's the 80-20 rule, where it's like 80% of people are kind of making it up versus having a role model to follow. So you had both, I guess, right? Like you had like what not to do, and then what to do. Uh, okay, well, what is something that you had to learn on your own, right? I always find that, again, going back to like the experience where it's trial by fire, or like just looking back, nothing had to happen. But what's one of the most important things you learned about how to be a successful loan originator that nobody else taught you, and you learned from your own experiences by having gone through different scenarios or things?
Yeah, I think at like the foundational level, you have to learn how to garner someone's trust. Um, when you are in this position, like you can't, you can listen to what other people say and how they kind of carry themselves and what they do. But ultimately, like, you can't fake being authentic. Like, you just got to be authentic. So you have to kind of find that way of, how do I establish trust with somebody? I talk to someone for the first time and I got to get them to open up to me about their personal financial situation, which a lot of people are generally insecure about. And then I'm going to give a recommendation. How do they know that that's going to be worthwhile and trustworthy? That's what I had to kind of find out myself. And what I did is I kind of just stumbled on, like you saying, is seeing is believing for everybody. If I can show them visually the math behind what I'm saying, why this loan option is better than this option, and I can visually show a comparison between that. Or, hey, you were quoted this before, but that's not really going to make the most sense. If we look at this timeline here, like, you're not going to break even on this and that, in your goals or whatever that is going to be. So I took this approach to showing them the math behind the loans that we were putting them in, or whatever the financial plan is that we're going to do. Because again, like, if they could see how this would start, and then where they'd be at in 6 months, and then 5 years from now, and 10 years from now, it let me kind of just build that trust with them, because now they can see the plan the way I see it, and they feel empowered by it. And I think the same thing goes as I started getting into like a management role, or like a team lead role, as I had people underneath me. They could understand the concepts, but until they actually see them in practice and working, which again is another kind of value of me being in that office, I got to see it with my own eyes, like you said. Then it becomes real. Oh, I can do this too. I see what he's doing, and yeah, it's working out. All right, I can follow suit. You know what I mean, and do the same thing. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is seeing is believing, and that was something that I learned by myself, is just understanding that if I can get someone's eyes and ears to understand the plan, then they're more likely to stay on track and not be bumped off when adversity hits, which it's life. You can't ever get away from it, So,
Well, yes, we are. To human is to err, right? And so that it kind of makes me. I guess I want to ask because going back to this concept of experience, right? I feel like because you could get lucky, right? Like, and maybe some people do, right? Like they take over their dad's book of business, right? Or um, they come straight into a top producing team, and because they immediately just emulate exactly what somebody else is doing, they're kind of propped up, right? Where it's like, do these things, and from the beginning, you did the right things. However, that would say that's the exception to the rule. I'm curious if you agree. Like, you probably can't. You have to gain the experience, right? Like, I'm gonna make, I guess, a weird analogy, but if you think about it like a character in a video game, right? Like, just because somebody else is in the same rooms as you, right? Like, or talking to the same realtors as you, or even getting the chance to be referred to the same client as you, and you both are competing for the business. The person who wins is probably the person with the most experience. And just because you've been in the business less than somebody else, you probably, by focusing on that, I guess, financial literacy, right? Like the education, like how can I add value to you in this way to build that trust? Um, because that's the difference. I feel like it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business because it's just cumulative experience, if that makes sense, right? As we're getting more at bats, right? Because I guess even though you went to that call center for 6 months, you got experience from it, right? Like you got reps. And
yes.
what do you? I guess do you feel like there's people that you've either competed against? Like, what's your experience or your two cents on that concept of like you as a loan officer, your cumulative experience? You know, maybe they're not competitors; they're just like worthy rivals in your market, where it's like some of them have maybe equal levels of experience as you, but others probably like even if they're in your market, they're not really your competition, right? Because they're not doing what you're doing. They can't compete with you in the area that you're competing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I competition, I think to your point, it's about the experience that you have. But I think like to kind of hone in on the experience component, if we were to break down like what that experience is doing to kind of give you a leg up is seeing multiple angles or situations and being able to have like kind of solutions for that, or be able to kind of pick up on it. So I think the biggest thing like when I'm competing is my experience is like I got to really listen first, right? And that's if it's a referral partner, if I'm competing for a referral partner's business, to really listen and understand what it is that makes them successful and what it is that like they need help with, or try to find something that's holding them back, So it all starts with me listening. Whereas if someone had less experience than me, they might just come shooting off with their value proposition and try to sell them on something. What makes them great? Turn it around and make it all about them. But in reality, it's not about how great you are as a loan officer. That I think that comes later. It's really about your referral partner. How are you helping this referral partner? It's all about them. What do they need? What do they need to kind of take their business to the next level? Where are their shortcomings at? And then once you understand them, you can kind of fill in the gaps of how you're going to help them kind of get there, right? So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think really the experience is about trying to meet someone where they're at, and all the different reps and things that you go through. You just get to kind of see more
Yeah, those
opportunities
angles.
and more
Yeah.
pain points or things that people kind of go through, so you kind of become a little bit more attuned to kind of picking those up.
Well, and that's what I wrote is I was almost thinking of like situational awareness, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
sure, in real life
that's
that's a thing, but
yeah.
in the loan process, it's you're becoming attuned and you hear it, right? Um, through the process of even like pressure testing ideas, right? Because I did originate very briefly, and I am not called to fulfillment in that sense. So but I can tell you when I started doing it, right? There's nothing better than like, wait, FHA, 2 or 3K, like what? And now you get to go do it, and then you talk to somebody articulate, and I got to talk to some really smart people, and so now they're instilling it in me and repetition, right? Like when I got another, opportunity to talk to somebody about 2 or 3K, it was like, oh, like so it's that pressure testing and trial and error, right? Because I didn't get like the first opportunity I ever got the client, got him pre-approved. It was a VA client, and they went into contract, and then he switched lenders. And it was actually because of a mistake we made. It's because of bad advice I was given, where I told him we could do something that we couldn't. And I actually wasn't surprised that he switched lenders, because I was like, shit, right? But that was the first experience I ever had, right?
Yeah.
And well, guess what? I was better for the next time. And so that's what I meant by like that experience, right? Is it's this cumulative, like, are we just doing the same thing over and over and over again? Not really. Like, I guess I do hear that from people. It's like, oh, this lender has a really small box. Like, this is all they do, versus maybe the mindset of, I'm going to figure out a way to get that done and help this person. Right. And so some people might say you're not specialized. And it's like, okay, it's good to try and be specialized, but what about, do you even have enough experience to where you can be well-rounded and be competitive with some of these referral partners, that they can count on you for being that overall resource, where it's like, if he doesn't, I know to call Nick, because if he doesn't have it, I know he knows who does, because he understands.
Right. Yeah. I think it's it's the more like, shots on goal, the more opportunities that you get, and the more failures that you have. Like, I don't know, we always had like a joke, nothing teaches you a lesson like losing a loan. You know what I mean? Like, it's
You'll remember.
You will never forget that, and you'll never let it happen again. So yeah, I mean, and I've had my failures with that. But yeah, like, it's regardless of the issue that someone is dealing with, there is a solution out there somewhere. And just, I think the more experience you have, the quicker you get at finding that solution. But before the experience comes, like, the luck part that you kind of briefly touched on before is, for me, I wasn't going to lose. I wasn't going to stop hunting for the solution to someone's problem. I was incredibly inefficient at it, and I had to work really hard all day, night, weekends, all that kind of stuff to get there. But the more experience I got, the more efficient I became at finding solutions to problems. And then, through repetition, you just know, oh, this is the solution to that problem. And, oh, you don't have enough income coming in here, but you got a lot of savings. All right, great. Let's look at doing an asset depletion. Or what, you just kind of call on like different issues to loans, and find solutions on the fly for things. The more experience that you have, but it does take that deep.
Yeah, I think that it's because that's just one facet, right? We're talking about being good at loans. Like, what about all the times that we didn't call that person back, right? Like, or we didn't add that meeting to our calendar, right? And then we missed it. And it's like that failure. Also being a teacher, because now we're talking about business development. Now we're talking about like our personal inner growth and showing up and keeping our promises, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. And I mean, thank you, Nick. I appreciate you making the time, sharing all those stories, because I do find it's much more valuable for people like to understand, because there is the nuance of our journey. And, we all are taking a different journey, sometimes with the similar place that we want to end up in mind. But, it's at a certain point becomes about more than just the money. And just knowing you personally, I know that for you, it's, family, team, just like giving back and all those kinds of things. So I think that, like, I know you're involved in the community and doing a lot, like with companies and stuff like that as well. So very cool stuff. Thank you for making the time to come on, Nick.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I should have said this sooner. When I actually end, don't hop off. It needs to upload. So I'll tell you when, right? But if you made it this far in the video, guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe so that way you'll get notified when the next From Experience podcast interview gets dropped. Appreciate you, Nick, again for being on. And guys, we'll see you in the next video.
Sounds good. Thank you.